welcome back, David Morgan. David Morgan of the Morgan Report. David, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you, Alan.
Our weather looks like yours today. What I assume which is normal weather for y'all this time of year. It's kind of overcast here.
Yeah, overcast and a little wet, yep.
Yep. So, but it sure is pretty out there in the summertime.
Love it out here with this big green trees and the clean air, believe me.
David, now what do you think of what's going on in the metals? I started trimming a little bit earlier in the week because I felt like when the market tanks, when the stock market tanks for a week or two, the metals would tank, and then we'd see the metals reverse course and rally to new highs as they print more money.
Well, it's been consolidating, Alan, as you know, and really there hasn't been anything to get excited about near term. For a while. We've basically been up as high as about the 34.5 level and down recently to the 32 level looking at the last 30 days. We're building another channel or base formation. It's a fairly high level relative to where we've been over the last decade. But it's nothing tradable to me. I'm very conservative in my trades. I usually let the market tell me what to do. I was in at the $28 level and out at about 33.5. Certainly you could get back in now, but I wouldn't want to. I think the risk is too high. We could break down to the bottom of the channel and retest another level. I doubt it, but doubting it doesn't mean it can't happen. So I'm waiting for the market to send its next signal to me.
David, that sell-off between the holidays last year, is that common? To see that?
It is not common, but I've got that in the back of my mind because it was so unusual, actually, and pounded down. And if I recall correctly, and, listeners forgive me, but I think the worst, lowest trade was like on the 23rd or 24th of December. And, it's possible that we might see something like that again. And the reason being is that as this Christmas holiday comes up more and more, or closer and closer, I should say, more and more people leave that are big traders. So the less volume there is, or the less movement, or the less people participating in the market, the easier it is to move it around. And that is up or down. And, of course, what took place last year was a big down move. I'm not ruling that out, Alan. I'm, again, going to let the market tell me. I don't want to really get back in until I see this top level, and I won't give it to just our general listeners because our members are getting the exact numbers from me. But once that level is taken out significantly on good volume and last a couple days, then I would be much more inclined to say, the market is signaling it's ready to go higher. Right now, the market can't make up its mind. It's acting weak. I don't like the action. I don't like the volume. And the commitment of traders is not that favorable. It's more favorable to the downside than the upside.
Let's talk about how we respond to a sell-off that we do see, once a year or so in the silver market. Typically, once it comes under pressure and all the guys are doing what they're doing, we generally see a very significant pop right out of the gate once that sell-off is over, like 10, 15% in the span of 2 days. Absolutely. And it's a couple things. One, it's bargain hunting by astute investors, and secondly, it's short covering, because once the metals get pushed down and the price is still set in the paper markets, for these short sellers to exit their positions, they have to make a buy. And once that buying takes place, it starts putting buying pressure back into the market and starts to rise up. And as you said, Alan, and you're very accurate, it moves rather significantly relative to other asset classes. 10 or 15% in silver is not uncommon. And yet you're looking at, like the Treasury market where you're getting, 2% or something. I mean, you can get 10% a day. Of course, the market moves up and down. Let's be clear about that. I'm sitting here looking at a 1 year. Now, the paper bugs are always going to talk about how well the S&P has done, but it looks to me like I've got the silver chart up, I've got the gold chart up. They've had one heck of a 12-month period. Absolutely. In fact, I'm going to be doing a free webinar, and I'll put it out. I'll send it to you guys so you can link it if you wish. On the 12th, so it's going to be 12-12-12, I'll be talking about the fundamentals mostly, but I'm also going to do some comparisons
the silver oil ratio, the silver Dow ratio, or we could use the S&P. They're approximately the same. The point being is how well silver has done versus stocks over the last decade. What's it done short term over the last year or two? Same thing for oil. And just paint the fundamental picture. And what I still cannot stress enough is that this market is far from over. I just attended the Northwest Mining Association conference yesterday where Timothy Wood, who's the executive director of the gold group, which is the Denver Gold Group, this is the highest level really in the gold industry. This is an invitation-only twice yearly gathering, and it's really the top tier. It's the Newmont Minings, the Yamanas. It's really the biggest producers on the planet. And he was very bullish gold in a very direct and factual way. And what he pointed out is he says the bull market is far from over in his view. He didn't give numbers, but he put up charts. His charts showed $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 gold. And he said normally in a bull market you get a couple back-to-back years of 40% moves. And we haven't really had big 40% moves back-to-back in the gold market. So for an example, I do this math in my head, Alan, but at a $2,000 gold, 40%, you're looking at $800, and that would be $2,800, and then you get another 40% on top of that, so you're looking at another $1,000 or so you'd be $3,800. When you see a couple years like that, you might consider that we might be getting close to top in gold. That was one of many things that he pointed out, indicating that this market still has a long ways to go on the upside in price, not necessarily in time.
David, before we run out of time, let's talk about the Morgan report. What are you doing in that report?
Well, last month we went and looked at all the companies that we have either recommended or featured over the last year, and that's a rather cumbersome event. And I got a little feedback from a few people about, why did you talk about this or that stock? And really, some of these stocks are not bad companies, but their share structure is so poor it really couldn't move the stock. I mean, we're very diligent about what we do. We know how markets move. We know what share structure means. What we're doing for the upcoming January issue is my forecast issue. And, Alan, I'm going to, of course, look at the metals markets primarily, but I'm also looking at the energy situation. It's changed drastically in the United States, in my view, with this fracking. There are a lot of positives there. I don't always want to wear the doom and gloom hat, but, this fiscal situation is so out of hand and so uncontrolled, and no one's really coming to address it in a meaningful way. We've got to also factor that into our thinking. So I'm trying to take a balanced view, as always, and let people know that, yes, there's a lot of good on this side of the ledger, but they still have a lot of problems on the other side.
And your Silver 123, you want to tell them about that real quick?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the best things that the average investor can do, silver123.net, silver123.net. This is the best, in my view, savings plans to put on autopilot. Get it for your grandkids, get it for your kids, get it for yourself. It's a way to actually accumulate gold or silver or both in a monthly accumulation program. And the markups are about the same as almost any dealer. They might be slightly more. You can store it, which I don't recommend, but you could. You can also take it home on a monthly basis if you wish to. It's really it's been seasoned. It's over 2 years. There hasn't been any problems with it whatsoever. It takes about 10 minutes to set up, and you're on your way.
David Morgan, ladies and gentlemen. David, it's always a pleasure. When we come back, we're going to be joined by my dear friend Jim Zotter. We'll see you in a moment.
Sitting here by me, she's here by